Namaskar. A warm welcome to World News and Indian Perspective on All India Radio. This is R.S. Raghu, bringing glimpses of the major developments of the day from across the globe. Over the next half an hour, we shall bring to you the latest from the world of politics, economy, sports, entertainment, and more. The headlines. Prime Minister Narendra Modi says country to step forward only by converting Amrit Kal to Kartavya Kal. External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar will pay an official visit to Maldives and Sri Lanka from 18th to 20th of January. Union Health Minister Mansukh Mandavia said that India has initiated multiple schemes to strengthen health systems. India welcomes UN sanction against Pakistan-based terrorist Abdul Rahman Makki. Vietnam's President Nguyen Huan Phuc has submitted his resignation after the ruling Communist Party found him responsible for violations and wrongdoing. Russia and Belarus began joint military exercises, and German Defense Minister Christine Lambrecht resigns amid Ukraine war backlash. Prime Minister Narendra Modi today said India's best era is coming, and BJP party workers should dedicate themselves to nation's development. Addressing a press conference in New Delhi, senior BJP leader Devendra Fadnavis said Prime Minister's concluding address at BJP meet was inspirational as well as a guide to show a new path. He said Mr. Modi's speech was not of a political leader but of a statesman, and he kept the nation above the party. Mr. Modi urged BJP workers to spend every moment of their life in the development story of India. Prime Minister said the country can be taken forward only by converting this Amrit Kal into Kartavya Kal. He advised party workers to conduct some special programs of morchas, especially in border villages, to connect them with developmental schemes. External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar will pay an official visit to Maldives and Sri Lanka from 18th to 20th of January. During his visit to the Maldives, the minister would call on President Ibrahim Mohammed Sohli and hold discussions with the Foreign Affairs Minister Abdullah Shahid. The visit will see signing of agreements related to the bilateral development, cooperation, groundbreaking, inauguration, handing over and launch of a number of key India-supported projects that will contribute to the socio-economic development of the Maldives. Dr. Jaishankar's visit to Sri Lanka will follow his earlier visits to Sri Lanka in January 2021 and March last year. Sri Lanka is a close friend and neighbor, and India has stood with the people of Sri Lanka at all times. During the visit, External Affairs Minister will call on Sri Lankan President Ranil Wickremesinghe and Prime Minister Dinesh Gunawardene. He will also hold discussions with Foreign Minister M.U.M. Ali Sabri on the entire gamut of close India-Sri Lanka partnership and steps to strengthen it in all spheres. Both Maldives and Sri Lanka are India's key maritime neighbors in the Indian Ocean region and occupy special place in Prime Minister's vision of Sagar, security and growth for all in the region, and neighborhood first. The visit is testimony to the importance that India attaches to its close and friendly relations with the Maldives and Sri Lanka. Union Health Minister Mansukh Mandavia said that India has initiated multiple schemes to strengthen health systems and improve health service delivery with focus on quality, accessibility and affordability of healthcare services. Dr. Mandavia said this while addressing the health and healthcare community dinner organized by World Economic Forum at Davos, Switzerland. He said government is committed to implement the vision of Antyodaya as part of its pursuit of ensuring universal health coverage. The minister urged all stakeholders to partner with India to leverage opportunities and strive to create a healthier world for all. Lok Sabha Speaker Om Birla said that innovation and research is the currency of the information age, and therefore it is important to collaborate with like-minded nations facing similar challenges. Mr. Birla held a discussion with Kenya's President Dr. William Samoei Ruto at the Kenyan State House today and extended best wishes to Dr. Ruto on his election as the President. The Speaker expressed hope that India-Kenya bilateral relations will reach new heights of cooperation and prosperity and will also expand to new avenues like innovation, ICT and health. He also assured India's cooperation in sharing its expertise and experience with Kenya in this direction. Besides, Mr. Birla also expressed the desire for exploring new areas of economic cooperation in order to further enhance trade and investment between the two countries. Addressing the students at Nairobi University, Mr. Birla lauded the efforts of India's youth and the government's enabling policy in making it the world's fifth largest economy. Lok Sabha Speaker Om Birla is leading a delegation to Kenya and Tanzania from 16th to 21st of this month. India has welcomed the decision of the UN Security Council to list Pakistan-based militant Abdul Rahman Makki, brother-in-law of Lashkar-e-Taiba leader Hafiz Saeed, as a global terrorist. The listing by the UN Security Council's ISIL and Al-Qaeda Sanctions Committee will subject LET terrorist Abdul Rahman Makki to an assets freeze, travel ban and arms embargo after years of efforts by India and its allies. Makki has occupied various leadership roles in LET, including raising funds for the organization. In response to media queries regarding the listing, Ministry spokesperson Arindam Bagchi said India remains committed to pursuing a zero-tolerance approach to terrorism.
Dismantle terror infrastructure in the region. India remains committed to pursuing a zero-tolerance approach to terrorism and will continue to press the international community to take credible, verifiable and irreversible action against terrorism.
Mr. Bagchi added that threats from terrorist organizations in the region remain high and listings and sanctions by the UNSC are an effective tool to curb such threats and dismantle terror infrastructure in the region. The fifth Foreign Policy and Security Dialogue between India and South Korea was held in South Korea. During the two-day dialogue, which concluded today, both sides agreed to deepen cooperation in areas including trade and investment, security and defense, science and technology, as well as cultural and people-to-people exchanges. India and South Korea have agreed to work to make global supply chains more resilient and robust. They also noted that bilateral trade was at an all-time high of $28 billion and agreed to take concrete steps to realize the vision of taking it to $50 billion by 2030. The two sides also discussed opportunities for cooperation in new and emerging technologies. Secretary East, Ministry of External Affairs Saurabh Kumar informed the Korean side about the opportunities India offers to Korean companies for investments in manufacturing, infrastructure and other sectors. The 21st edition of the bilateral naval exercise between India and France, Exercise Varuna, commenced on the western seaboard on Monday. The exercise will be conducted till the 20th of this month and will witness advanced air defense exercises, tactical maneuvers, surface firings, underway replenishment and other maritime operations. The Ministry of Defense in a statement said the exercise provides an opportunity to learn from each other's best practices. While the bilateral exercise between the two navies was initiated in 1993, it was christened as Varuna in 2001 and has become a hallmark of India-France's strategic bilateral relationship. Vietnam's President Nguyen Huan Phuc has submitted his resignation after the ruling Communist Party found him responsible for violations and wrongdoings of numerous officials under him. The country's official news agency has said Phuc, 68, has held the largely ceremonial position for less than 2 years. It was not immediately clear who would replace him. Phuc's resignation follows the dismissal of 2 deputy prime ministers this month in an anti-corruption purge that has led to the arrest of dozens of officials. Pham Binh Minh and Wu Duc Dam's dismissal comes at a time when the communist-ruled country is intensifying its fight against corruption, despite concerns the campaign is paralyzing routine transactions as officials fear being entangled in inquiries. Last month, the party disciplined Minister of Foreign Affairs Bui Thanh Son over the alleged involvement of several ministry officials and diplomats in the scandal over repatriation flights. German Defense Minister Christine Lambrecht has resigned from Chancellor Olaf Scholz's government. Her decision dealt a blow to Chancellor Scholz at a time when Germany is under pressure to approve an increase in international military support for Kyiv. A government spokesperson said Ms. Lambert asked Mr. Scholz to dismiss her as formally required, and he has approved. The spokesperson said the Chancellor respects Ms. Lambert's decision and thanks her for the good work that she did during this difficult and challenging time as Defence Minister. In today's Hotspot section, we bring you a news commentary, Think 20 meeting under the G20 Global Governance with Life, Values and Well-being.
Think 20 or T20 is an official engagement group of the G20. It serves as an ideas bank for the G20 by bringing together think tanks and high-level experts to discuss policy issues relevant to G20. The T20 recommendations are amalgamated into policy briefs and presented to G20 working groups, ministerial meetings and leaders summit to help the G20 deliver concrete policy measures. India holds the presidency of the G20 from the 1st of December 2022 to the 30th of November 2023. The opportunity to lead G20 comes at a time of compounding existential threat, with the COVID-19 pandemic having exposed the fragilities of our systems under the cascading impact of climate change. The key priority for India's presidency is climate change, with particular focus not only towards climate finance and technology, but also ensuring just energy transitions for developing nations across the world. India offers the world Lifestyle for Environment, a behavior-based movement that draws from our nation's rich, ancient, sustainable traditions to adopt environmentally conscious practices. This ties closely with India's G20 theme as envisioned by Prime Minister Narendra Modi, Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, or One Earth, One Family, One Future. An accelerated, resilient and inclusive growth is the cornerstone for sustainable development. During its G20 presidency, India aims to focus on areas that have the potential to bring structural transformation. This includes an ambition to accelerate integration of micro, small and medium enterprises, MSMEs, in global trade, bring in the spirit of trade for growth, promote labor rights and secure labor welfare, address global skills gap and build inclusive agricultural value chains and food systems. A two-day Think 20 conference on global governance with life, values and well-being began in Bhopal on the 16th of January 2023. The conference was inaugurated by Madhya Pradesh Chief Minister Shivraj Singh Chauhan. The focus is on fostering cooperation and framework, finance and technology. The G20 Chief Coordinator Harshvardhan Shringla said the COVID-19 pandemic has been the greatest shock to the world since the Second World War. As the world recovered from it, the Ukraine crisis began, which has resulted in fuel and food shortages and inflation. Mr. Shringla added that more than 300 ministers, intellectuals and subject experts from India and abroad participated in the plenary and parallel sessions, roundtable conferences and cluster briefings. Of these, 94 international delegates, 115 from different states and about 100 local participants took part in the discussions. The main speaker at the inaugural session was Tetsushi Sonobe, Dean and CEO of the Asian Development Bank Institute, Tokyo. The Deputy Minister for Political Affairs, Law, Defence and Security, Slamet Soedarsano, also joined in the conference. Representatives of international organizations from the African Union, Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, UN, UNDP and UNICEF also attended the meeting. There are 70 task forces covering all aspects of the G20 agenda. These include accelerating sustainable development goals, SDGs, life, resilience and well-being, macroeconomics, trade and livelihood. 3 plenary and 10 parallel sessions were held on the first day of the conference. The presentations focused on India's vaccine diplomacy that benefited humanity during the COVID crisis. Through the G20, India will offer solutions and act as the global voice for the issues and challenges that the world is currently facing. The key subjects discussed were the advancement of women and young leadership, as well as the notion that investing in children is investing in the future. On the final of the Think 20 meeting today, there were 2 plenary sessions, a roundtable discussion and a closing session. India will design the next global development agenda. The delegates concurred that equity, inclusive growth and inclusive finance are the most pressing issues in the world today.
Russia and Belarus began joint military exercises on Monday. The two allies will conduct Air Force drills till 1st of February using all Belarus military airfields. The Belarusian Defense Ministry said the two countries began joint army exercises involving a mechanized brigade subdivision on Monday. Minsk said the air drills are defensive and it will not enter the war. First Deputy State Secretary of Belarusian Security Council, Pavel Muraveiko, on Sunday said the situation on the country's southern border with Ukraine was not very calm. Belarus has conducted numerous military exercises since the Russia-Ukraine conflict began, both on its own and jointly with Moscow. Together with Russia, Minsk has also been bolstering the drills with weaponry and military equipment. Mexico has brought into force one of the world's strictest anti-tobacco laws by enacting a total ban on smoking in public places. The step, which was first approved in 2021, also includes a ban on tobacco advertising. Several other Latin American countries have also passed legislation to create smoke-free public spaces. However, Mexico's legislation is considered to be the most robust and wide-ranging in the Americas. It amounts to one of the most stringent anti-smoking laws in the world. Mexico's existing 2008 law, which created smoke-free spaces in bars, restaurants and workplaces, is now extended to an outright ban in all public spaces. That includes parks, beaches, hotels, offices and restaurants. There will also be a total ban on the advertising, promotion and sponsorship of tobacco products, meaning that cigarettes cannot even be on show inside shops. Vapes and e-cigarettes are also subject to tighter new restrictions, particularly indoors. This is All India Radio giving you the world news. In USA, 6 people, including a teenage mother and her 6-month-old child, were fatally shot yesterday in a Central California home during a suspected gang-related shooting. Police said that there were at least 2 suspects who had not been caught. It said 2 people survived the assault by hiding inside the building, while one of the wounded died shortly after being rushed to hospital. Tulare is a city of some 70,000 inhabitants in the San Joaquin Valley, roughly halfway between San Francisco and Los Angeles. The military in Somalia has captured a strategic coastal town that Al-Shabaab jihadists had held for more than a decade. Prime Minister Hamza Abdi Bare described the taking of Harazire in central Galmudug state as an historic victory. He said the enemy of the nation had been destroyed. Other officials said the Islamist militant group fled without putting up a fight. The loss of the port and supply route is seen as a setback for Al-Shabaab. In recent months, it has lost swathes of territory during a sustained offensive by government forces working with clan militias. But the Al-Qaeda-linked insurgents have responded with frequent bomb attacks. Authorities in Somalia say 26 people have been killed and scores injured in Tuesday's morning attack at a military base in Hawadli town in the Middle Shabelle region. Authorities in Brazil's capital have moved to increase security at government buildings that were ransacked by thousands of former President Jair Bolsonaro's supporters in what the government denounced as an anti-democratic attack. Brasilia district authorities said on Monday that they would more than double the security deployment at the Esplanade of Ministries and 3 Power Square areas where the government's presence is concentrated. Acting District Governor Celina Leo also told reporters that a military police battalion in charge of security would be boosted from 248 to 500 members on a permanent basis for maximum peace of mind. The changes come just over a week after Bolsonaro supporters stormed Brazil's Congress, Supreme Court and Presidential Palace on January 8th in an effort to contest the new administration of President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva. The left-wing president, who was formally sworn in on January 1st, narrowly defeated Bolsonaro in an October presidential runoff that was widely viewed as the most divisive election in the South American nation's history. Teachers, retirees and workers' unions have marched in at least 6 Venezuelan cities to demand better salaries as the government of President Nicolas Maduro faces renewed challenges in its attempt to fight inflation. Venezuela's inflation is estimated to have reached 305% last year, according to a non-governmental group of economists who calculate indicators in the absence of an official data. The government has not adjusted the salaries of public sector employees since March last year, part of efforts to reduce spending and increase taxes which allowed Venezuela to emerge from hyperinflation. But in the second half of last year, demand for foreign currency outstripped the weekly supply of dollars made available by the central bank, and the Venezuelan bolivar depreciated further. The minimum monthly salary for a public school teacher is about $10, while university professors earn between $60 and $80. Families of Indonesian children who died after consuming a tainted cough syrup have demanded restitution at an Indonesian court. The court has started hearing their class action lawsuit against government agencies and pharmaceutical companies. Some 200 children have died of acute kidney injury in Indonesia since last year, and authorities said two dangerous ingredients, ethylene glycol and diethylene glycol, found in some syrup-based paracetamol medications, have been linked to the deaths. 25 families are now suing Indonesia's health and finance ministries, the country's drug regulator, and at least 8 pharma companies for the children's death and injuries. Lawyer for the families, Awan Puryadi, told the Reuters news agency on Tuesday that his clients wanted compensation of up to 3.4 billion rupiah. 25 families are suing 11 parties, including Indonesia's Ministry of Health, the country's Food and Drug Agency, as well as pharmaceutical manufacturing companies and suppliers. The Sensex and the Nifty today witnessed gains of around 1%. Index of top 30 companies at Bombay Stock Exchange ended above 60,600 points. The index of top 50 companies at National Stock Exchange closed above the 18,000 mark. A report from the business desk.
The Sensex climbed 563 points to settle at 60,566. The Nifty also gained 158 points to finish at 18,053. Among the global stock markets, Asian shares fell except China's Nikkei, which gained 1.2%. China's Shanghai Composite Index and Singapore's Straits Times both slipped marginally by 0.1%. Hong Kong's Hang Seng declined 0.8% and South Korea's Kospi fell 0.9%. European shares were also down in intraday trade. Oil prices logged modest gains as recent shift in Chinese COVID-19 policy underpinned hopes of a recovery in fuel demand this year. On the other hand, reports of second weakest annual economic growth of China in nearly half a century kept the gains in a limit. In intraday trade, Brentwood crude was trading at $85.50 per barrel. Back home at the multi-commodity exchange, gold futures for February was trading at 56,450 rupees per 10 grams. Silver futures for March was trading at 69,630 rupees per kilogram when reports last came in. Rajesh Lake for World News, All India Radio.
Muhammad Ali, born Cassius Marcellus Clay Jr., was born on this day in 1942. He was an American professional boxer and activist. Nicknamed the greatest, he is regarded as one of the most significant sports figures of the 20th century and is frequently ranked as the greatest heavyweight boxer of all time, a tribute to all-time great pugilist.
Muhammad Ali was the recipient of countless awards. In addition to being honored by Amnesty International with their Lifetime Achievement Award, the Secretary-General of the United Nations bestowed him with a citation as United Nations Messenger of Peace. He was also named the International Ambassador of Jubilee 2000, a global organization dedicated to relieving debt in developing nations. Former President Jimmy Carter has called Muhammad Mr. International Friendship, and in 2005, Muhammad was awarded the Presidential Medal of Freedom. He is the person who first introduced the rope-a-dope trick, which is a boxing fighting technique in which one contender leans against the ropes of the boxing ring and draws non-injuring offensive punches, letting the opponent tire themselves out. This gives the former the opportunity to then execute devastating offensive punches to help them win. The rope-a-dope is most famously associated with Muhammad Ali in his October 1974 Rumble in the Jungle match against world heavyweight champion George Foreman in Kinshasa, Zaire. In 1999, he was named Sportsman of the Century by Sports Illustrated and the Sports Personality of the Century by the BBC. Ali had a respiratory issue that required hospitalization in 2016. The People's Champion passed away after a few days at the age of 74. For roughly 30 years, he suffered from Parkinson's disease. There were no last words from him in the days before his death because the sickness had rendered him speechless. With Ratish Ghosh, this is Valsa Williams.
In the FIH Hockey Men's World Cup, Germany and Belgium played out a thrilling 2-2 draw. Cedric Charlier gave Belgium the lead in the first quarter while Wellen Niklas levelled the score for Germany in the second. Tom Grambusch gave Germany the lead in the third while Victor Wegnes scored the equalizer for Belgium in the final quarter. Earlier, Korea defeated Japan 2-1 at the Kalinga Stadium in Bhubaneswar. Team India batter Shreyas Iyer has been ruled out of the upcoming 3-match ODI series against New Zealand due to a back injury. He has been replaced by Rajat Patidar. Rajat Patidar plays for Madhya Pradesh in domestic cricket. He is a right-handed batter. The New Zealand home series will feature 3 ODIs and 3 T20s. India will begin the series with the 50-over matches from tomorrow. The T20 series will commence on the 27th of January. Now let us take a look at the major developments around the world as reported in the foreign press. The Straits Times writes, Vietnam's President Nguyen Huan Phuc quits blamed for minister's violations. The Guardian also writes, Vietnam President quits amid anti-corruption drive. The Washington Post reports, Ukraine live briefing, Zelensky advisor resigns, military aid set up to top agenda as Western allies meet. Wall Street Journal writes, losing New Mexico candidate arrested over shootings at Democrats' homes. At least 4 houses and 8 shops of the Hindu community were vandalized by religious bigots in Gopalganj, Kotalipara Upazila over a Facebook post on Sunday evening, reports Daily Star. Bangladesh has won a total of 13 awards including 1 gold medal, 2 silver medals, 2 bronze medals and 8 technical medals at the 24th International Robo Olympiad IRO, reports Dhaka Tribune. And a number of Bangladeshi lawmakers on Monday said the country's GDP now exceeded that of Malaysia and Singapore, with securing 35th position in the ranking of the world economy, reports Prothom Olo. And now a quick look at the headlines once again. Prime Minister Narendra Modi says country to step forward only by converting Amrit Kal to Kartavya Kal. External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar will pay an official visit to Maldives and Sri Lanka from the 18th to 20th of January. Union Health Minister Mansukh Mandviya said that India has initiated multiple schemes to strengthen health systems. India welcomes UN sanction against Pakistan-based terrorist Abdul Rahman Makki. Vietnam's President Nguyen Huan Phuc has submitted his resignation after the ruling Communist Party found him responsible for violations and wrongdoing. Russia and Belarus began joint military exercises, and German Defense Minister Christine Lambrecht resigns amid Ukraine war backlash. And now, before we end, let us listen to Mahatma Gandhi's favorite bhajan Vaishnav Jan by artists from Australia. that we end this bulletin. We'll be back at the same time tomorrow with the next edition of World News.